Good day. Our first lesson for this week 11, is topic 13, lesson 4. Use models to compare fractions, same numerators. Textbook pages 691 to 696. Prepare your book and your pen. The next slide is a video that will help you understand about the lesson. Watch and listen attentively.
How can you compare fractions with the same numerator? Having the same numerator is a clue you can work with.
Don't forget to look for clues. Clues lead you to answers.
Two scarves are the same size. One scarf is 5/6 orange, and the other scarf is 5/8 orange. Which is less, 5/6 or 5/8? Find out which fraction is less, 5/6 or 5/8. What is important to know before you compare fractions? You need to be sure that the size of the whole is the same. How can you find 5/6 and 5/8 of the scarf? What you show. Use fraction strips to reason about the size of 5/6 compared to the size of 5/8. Divide the scarf into 8 equal parts to find 5/8. Each part is 1/8 of the whole. Show 5 of the 1/8 strips. Then divide the scarf into 6 equal parts. Each part is 1/6 of the whole. Show 5 of the 1/6 strips. Which is less, 5/6 or 5/8? 5/8 is less than 5/6. You can compare fractions that have the same numerator by reasoning about their size. What you write. Justify the comparison using symbols or words. 5/8 is less than 5/6. If the two fractions have the same numerator, the fraction with the greater denominator is less than the other fraction. Why is the fraction with the greater denominator less than the fraction with the smaller denominator? Because the greater denominator means the whole is divided into more parts. As the denominator gets bigger, each part gets smaller. Now you know how to compare fractions with the same numerator.
Now, let's answer solve and share problem on page 691. Carrie and Alan had the same amount of vegetables to eat. Carrie ate 1/4 of her vegetables. Alan ate 1/3 of his vegetables. Who ate more vegetables? Solve the problem any way you choose. Explain how you decided. So, in this problem, we are going to use fraction strips to find out who ate more. So we will draw fraction strips like this. For Carrie, it's 1/4. So we are going to divide the whole into fourths and shade 1/4 part of it. And for Alan, we are going to divide the whole into 3 parts and shade 1/3 part of it. So when we divide the same sized whole into more parts, the parts get smaller, as what you can see in Carrie's fraction. And for Alan, it's bigger because the whole is just divided into 3. So when the whole is the same and fractions have the same numerator, the fraction with the greater denominator is less than the other fraction. So 1/3 is greater than 1/4. So Alan ate more vegetables than Carrie. Now, let's go on with the look back. If Carrie ate 2/4 of her vegetables and Alan ate 2/3 of his vegetables, would your answer change? Use reasoning about the size of fractions to explain. No, both started with the same amount of vegetables. 1/3 is greater than 1/4 of the same whole. So 2/3 is greater than 2/4. Alan still ate more vegetables than Carrie. Now let's proceed to convince me question. Julia says 1/8 is greater than 1/4 because 8 is greater than 4. Is she correct? Explain. No. If Julia has two wholes that are the same size and cuts one whole into 4 equal parts and the other whole into 8 equal parts, the 1/8 parts will be smaller than the 1/4 parts. Now let's have some examples. Okay, we have here compare 1/3 and 1/5. So look at the size of the pieces. 1/3 and 1/5. In 1/3, the whole is divided into 3 parts, and one part is shaded, so that represents 1/3. For the 1/5, the whole is divided into 5 parts, and one part is shaded, that is 1/5. In 1/3, you can see that it's bigger pieces and bigger shaded portion, right? While in the 1/5, look at the one shaded part. It is smaller than the other one. So smaller denominator means bigger same size pieces. So if we are going to compare 1/3 and 1/5, we can say that 1/3 is greater than 1/5. Let's take a look at this another example. Compare 3/4 and 3/8. Which fraction is greater? So look at the shaded portion of each fraction. By just looking at the shaded part, you can tell which fraction is greater. Is it 3/4 or 3/8? 3/4 is greater than 3/8. Now, let's answer the you know how questions. Number 3. Compare this fraction. 3/6 and 3/3. So look at the fraction strips. What symbol are you going to use to compare these fractions? Remember, greater denominator is less than. So 3/6 is lesser than 3/3. Another one, let's have 4/8 compared to 4/6. Again, remember, greater denominator is less than. So what symbol are you going to write to make the comparison true? It's lesser than. 4/8 is lesser than 4/6. Now answer independent practice and online homework. Good luck!